Hi.
Hi.
We're good. We are
Yay.
we are here.
How are you feeling today? There's a lot going on in the world.
There's a lot going on in the world, and I have to admit, like, I've been like doing all of the like new technology, right? The new energetic technology. So like the, 3 prime grounding. I've been working in the like 50-second, like the source, or excuse me, the set of 13 chakras that are above the source code chakras, which I'm calling the creation chakras, which is like 40 to 52. I've been working in there. And then I've also been integrating the different like flames inside of the solar consciousness, solar harmonics grids. And it's like everything feels so good. And like my body feels really good. And like my life feels really good. And it's a stark contrast from like a lot. Like I just had a couple of clients come into my DMs. Hey, Abigail, like I'm struggling. I was like, it's okay, I got you. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's easy with like
Mm-hmm.
clients and stuff. But then I'm like, my friends are coming and being like, my whole world's falling apart and like all this stuff and all this stuff in the world. And I was like, okay, guys, like this is a perfect example of how, if you're not staying ahead of the energetics, if you're not getting into the new energetic technologies, you will find yourself struggling because the old stuff doesn't work. It's I keep using like a cell phone as
Example.
the thing of like, we don't use phones from the 80s for a reason,
Yeah.
right? Like the
Yeah.
technology advances and so too does energetic technologies as well. And there's not like 100 different people working at the forefront of energetics. There's
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people, what I'm finding, that are doubling down into like mindfulness technology. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
mindfulness technology is great. It has a place. It was great in its day. But if you're only saying, oh, there's a thought, and then it goes out, oh, there's another thought, and you're going to find yourself struggling because right now the dark agenda is rising, but it's rising because the light agenda is rising too. And that means that the technology is getting better. It's about whether or not we're accessing it. And so I'm
Mm-hmm.
finding like somebody mentioned to me, a friend of mine mentioned, was like, Abigail, it's 9/9 in a year 9. And I was like, huh. I was like, my world's really going great. How are you? And she's like, I
Yeah.
woke up with this massive headache, and I woke up with this, like, my bones hurt so bad. And I was like, I am so sorry, babe. Like, we need to get on a call together.
Yeah, totally. What you were speaking about with working with the higher chakras, it just feels like it's really potent.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of people who are still like doubling down on the whole, like, there's 7 chakras. And I'm like, yeah, there are, but there is so much more. Think about like what it is to access knowledge, portals of knowledge that excel past your personal chakras.
Yeah.
Like, these personal chakras are for you in this incarnation, in this time. But what if you're accessing your ancestral chakras? That's not
Mm.
just you, it's all of your family. What if you're accessing the source code chakras, where you're accessing portals of knowledge that are talking about the laws of the universe, not just your galaxy, the universe? What about
Mm-hmm.
that? And what about
Mm-hmm.
going beyond that? Now we can go beyond that. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, like excited for it. And I know that not everybody is ready for it, obviously, but like the fact that people are acting as if it doesn't even exist is a little sad to me.
It was like, who was I talking to yesterday? I forget, but we were talking about how like the reason that the world feels so dense right now is because like the dark reptilian agenda, like you just spoke to, it's like they're losing control. And I was like, I don't like dabble in ET stuff. I definitely know it's a thing and it's there and I don't
Mhm.
deny it. And it's very much like an energy that's, I think, trying to make its way here for our better and highest good, not necessarily the dark, but the light. But I'm just like, that makes a lot of sense. So,
Right? I've been saying something to my clients and my students. A lot of people have been acting as if they are at the mercy of reality, You need to stop thinking like that. When you are in mastery, when you are saying that you have gone beyond like the novice level, masters are not at the mercy of reality. Reality is at the mercy of them because they are creator. So stop thinking like, oh, I just have, here's reality and I just have to like acquiesce to it. No, you don't. You create reality. So start acting like it. And as soon as you can like actually like flip that in your mind, now discipline becomes easy. When you stop pretending like you're at the mercy of reality, you start going, of course I'm going to work out because of course my body is going to get well. Of course I'm going to have my health. Of course money is going to be my best friend. Of course abundance is going to show up for me. Of course the world works the way it's supposed to for me. Right. And it's not, you're not like having to like qualify being like without hurting others. No, the universe doesn't work like that. It's not you having to be like, help me, just don't hurt anybody. You know what I mean? Like when you're in the light, your intention rings true, but you have to actually say, I'm not at the mercy of reality. Reality is my bitch. So like I'm the creator here. I get to decide. Right?
Totally. Eclipse season, ladies.
Girl, eclipse has taken me out. I've been well, not unwell physically, but emotionally it's been crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
How are
thought
you
I was
doing?
gonna blow up my whole life this weekend. Put me through it. And then I'm all my clients, I'm ripping demons off of people. And I'm like,
Yeah,
why does
there's a lot of
everyone have this right now? Like, I'm like, it's exhausting. And I'm like, I get off of work and I'm like, I can't do anything because I'm tired. And it's like they're not even like casual ones. Like I've dealt with like compassionate beings that are just like, ah, hey, time to go. Like you need to leave. These are like looking me in the eyes and like laughing at me and me having to channel a whole different version of myself to rip it off of someone type of shit. And then like I mean, with the whole like Charlie Kirk stuff, like I'm just, and then all of the Christians are like freaking out. And it's just I've been feeling the really heavy side of Christianity. So I identify as being Christian. I like there's a church down the street that I love to like sit in the outside garden and like I'll talk to God and Jesus and stuff. But I have been really like struggling because there's just this heavy, dense energy of like Christianity as a form of like prison, like energetic spiritual prison that is just so overwhelming right now. And I'm like, I don't know how to help people address this without triggering the shit out of the entire Christian community. And a lot of Christians have been following me, and I've just found it so interesting. Anyway, so what is our topic for today? Are we just like riffing?
You know, like so much of my like stuff, I feel like I've just been like, well, what comes up? What comes up? So I don't know if you guys had something specific that you wanted to talk about. I'm good with it, doing anything. Otherwise, we could just we can continue on this track for
I love it.
I have a request actually. I want to talk.
Yes.
I want because I would love to hear your guys' opinions because I think all of us has seen it in some capacity, but the unintentional spell casting that happens on a regular basis and that people don't realize it and how it actually impacts people on a physical and emotional and like spiritual level. I think it's interesting. I think it's important to talk about because it happens all of the time. And but we can talk about lots of other things, but I just think that that would be something that would be interesting for people to also hear about.
Yeah. Oh, we absolutely can start there. Please, Gabby, thoughts on unintentional spell casting? Girlfriend, go.
Okay, well, I think that's such a very curious topic to really engage with because if you think about it, at least in terms of like how I work with energy, I think everything is spiritual. But I don't think until for me, like maybe I would say within the last 2 years, I really started seeing public events, public gatherings, specifically like say like the Super Bowl, the Grammys, things that are televised as quite literally mass rituals for like energy harvesting. And then, you know, I am very open about this. I definitely believe Beyonce is a high witch and her concerts, the imagery that she puts out there, I'm like, "Oh, she's harvesting people's energy." Like
Yeah.
that's exactly what she's doing. And so I think people are and I wonder too, like when you're conscious versus when you're unconscious to it, right? If you're conscious to it, like I explicitly say, and like even if I'm watching, I'm like, you guys cannot take my
Oh yeah.
energy. Like, that's just not possible. But the people
Yeah.
that are unconscious to it, I'm always so curious. I'm like, at what point does it become like theft? And like, is their energy being stolen essentially? Because if you look at people in positions like celebrities or whatnot, you see their auras. Like, for example, Katy Perry, Bill Gates is a whole different conversation, but like, they just don't look healthy. And it's because they're
Mhm.
literally taking people's energy. So I would love your
Yeah.
thoughts on that.
Yeah. Okay. So a couple thoughts. I've been to a Beyonce concert. I love the concerts, but I am so energetically like to the nine, like protected. And I also remember being at the concert a couple years ago, loved it, but I remember there was like this out of body experience I had where I almost like saw like what was, and I was just like, just so you know, me and these people, you can't touch them. So I see it, I'm clocking you. And I knew like it was like one of those things where I'm like, I can tell you see me clocking you. It was very interesting. I think I actually told you about it, Gabby, because I was like so crazy. I'm not sure. So I think I for this, I think that there are ones where they're intentional and it's theft and because it's being used in a very specific way. I think the other part of it, because I always feel like country music is very, very different than other music genres. And I don't feel the same type of like energy draining theft type of a thing. And I think it sits at a different frequency where it's more of just like the collective is like moving and grooving together. But and I don't know if either of you listen to country music, so maybe this is just my own opinion. I think that there are artists that it is completely about draining and feeding off of them. And I think those ones are the ones that don't usually end up looking well, where you can kind of just tell by their energy. While in other genres and other artists, it doesn't feel as much like a harvesting. It feels more like they channel the collective like group, and it's almost like an expression of whatever like their souls or their energies are going through. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Totally.
Okay.
And Abby, I feel like you're going to jump in, but one thing I just want to make note of that if we could circle back to, or if it comes up in conversation, the subconscious programming in lyrics and
Oh,
lyricism
100%.
and like the way in which like artists are essentially harvesting your energy through that because you're coming back for more. Like I again like I wouldn't know I don't know if I would say I'm a Swiftie, but like the woman's business acumen, like she definitely does it. And she says this in her lyrics. Like Taylor Swift is putting subconscious reprogramming like
Yeah.
tunes and just notes and all the things because she wants people to come back, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that also on the tickety talk, there's literally like, I wouldn't say black witches, but witches
Oh, no,
nonetheless that are
there
literally
are. You
taking,
gotta really,
they're
yeah.
taking people's like
Yeah.
they when they're literally the most vulnerable. And I'm just
Yeah.
like, guys, like discernment. So anyways, that's what I had to say.
Yeah. No, I definitely feel that with TikTok too. Like you gotta, whenever my algorithms start, I'm like, nope, this isn't what I want to see on my IG. I might be into the woo and the intuitive in my life, but like I do not trust into like TikTok witches as far as I could throw a house. And I
Mhm.
can't throw a house. So
Yeah. No, I'm a little bit of like two opinions about it where I'm like, and Annamarie knows this because like I have always and will always talk about how I absolutely despise people going into other people's energies. And Annamarie and I both call it energetic HIPAA. And that really comes from like us being in like the medical field, like
medical,
certainly for
yeah.
me, like I have to protect people's information, their medical information. And I feel very strongly about it's also my responsibility for protecting my clients, my students is energetic information as well. Like, and on some level, for me, energetic information is so much more potent than whether or not somebody has your, social security number or whatever, because I can gain access to everything when I look in your energy. If I am strong enough, if I am, if if my intentions are strong enough, really,
Yeah.
like it's not about being of the light enough.
Yeah.
The dark can access your shit too.
Yeah.
It's there's mastery to both the light and the dark, and so if you are in mastery enough, you can access pretty much anything and everything out of somebody's stuff. And I obviously like tell people like the universe will allow me to have only so much and whatever, but that's because that's the intention I set. I set as like in my ethics that, you know what, a person's going to come to me and I'm going to do a reading for them. I'm going to get into their energy, but I'm going to be given what I need to give them, what I'm supposed to have in order to help them get into their highest and best and all of that stuff, right? But
Yeah.
if I wanted to, I could have access to everything.
Yeah.
And so because of that, I feel like there have been enough light workers over the decades and potentially centuries that have said, you know what, it doesn't matter. I don't have any ethics and I don't care. I don't have any morals. I'm going to go and I'm going to read some celebrities' energy. And I think celebrities have gotten wise and said, if y'all feel like you can come up into my shit,
Yeah.
well, then how about I use what the gift that God gave me, that Creator gave me, my music, my lyrics, my, you know, whatever, and I'm going to get up into some of your business. I don't, maybe it's not like that malicious, you know, or that, you know, pointed for
Conscious. Yeah.
many of them. Maybe it is very unconscious and it kind of goes back to that unconscious thing. But I think that there is such a thing as karma. And I think that, you know, there is supposed to be an exchange. I think we talk about exchange all the time, and so many energy workers talk about exchange as being my information, my knowledge, my wisdom for your money. But I don't think that it always has to be that. I think that it more so than ever before, it's energy for energy. You're going to get into my business, you're going to read my energy. Well, maybe I'm going to take some of your energy by you consuming my stuff. Like, I think it, on some levels, for some people, I think maybe fair trade.
Yeah. So it's really funny that you say that, Abby, because yesterday, I swear, sometimes I'm like, do the phones hear us? But there was quite literally like this like spiritual TikTok, right? This reel popped up and it was, of course, in light of everything that happened. So at time of recording, it's 9/11, and you know, we had a really tragic event in the country happen yesterday. And something popped up and this woman was like, you know, this isn't a war for, I mean, to some extent it definitely is for land and resources, but the resource that this is a main war for is one's energy. It's your
Yeah.
consciousness. And I'm just like,
100%.
so
100%. And there's two different timelines. Like I know we've like both, all of us, I know respectively, I've talked to both of you individually about the split in timelines. And I have felt it more than ever since the eclipse. And it's really hard because a lot of people that I love are on one timeline while I'm trying to like maintain being on another one. And it's very, very interesting. But 100%, like it's more of a spiritual warfare. It's your energy. Like, and I think that I think it's just because different structures are failing and they're not working. And there's a lot more of, I'm deciding what I want instead of letting you tell me what to do. And that because of that, it's just trying more and more in different ways to get at us energetically. And I talk about this all the time. If you're not energetically protecting yourself, or you don't know how to cleanse your energy, or you don't know how to do any of that, you're kind of going to be playing catch up over the next, you know, 5-10 years, because things are just going to get more energetic and more intertwined. Not to mention, like, I mean, if we look at capitalism and the market, you know, for those of you listening who are business owners, the intuitive wellness space is going from an $80 billion industry in 2023 to a $400 billion industry as of 2030. That is exponential explosion. That is like when the internet and e-commerce came into the thing. So like everyone is looking for somebody who can meet them energetically, because it's not just about like surface level stuff anymore. So I think it's just all very timely, because if people are looking for these solutions for like their wellness, for their health and their family, and all these kinds of things, and they're equipping themselves with that, it makes sense that also these other energies that are very much used to being in control and very much used to everyone being very 3D are fighting back.
Yeah, it kind of makes me think about like whole, and I'm not too familiar with her work, but obviously I know who she is. I've listened to her speak, but Dolores Cannon speaking about like the split of the two worlds. I'm like, was it the split of like two types of like consciousnesses, whatever the plural of that word is, where it's like the people that are awake versus the people that got left behind. So it really just makes you wonder about these concepts.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's go back to what Gabby was asking about with the lyrics. And I 100% agree. I think that there is absolutely if you ingest lyrics, just, and I will tell people this, like I was big into this probably a few years ago when I was really going through it in my life, and I just was like, I'm having a really hard time hearing my inner God self, my inner creator. And so I need to, but I know what I need to hear. And I went on a mass like thing. I still have the playlist on my Spotify, but it has nothing but music that just basically is empowerment. And it's like, you're gonna make it your best self. It's like, I don't mean to make that like trivial, but it's like, it literally is like, you are the light. And so it's all of that. And it's like, you're powerful, and you're breaking chains, and you're breaking systems, and you're building legacies, and like, it's all of that. And I guarantee you, it got me out. It got me out. And I love how Spotify does at like the end of the year. It's like, this is what you listen to most. And I looked at it, and and I was like, oh my God, I was in a bad place, that I needed all of these songs to help get me out. And I remember posting it onto Instagram stories. And I said, if anybody wants to know how I was doing this past year, if you've been at all wondering, like, if I'm well, this playlist will tell you that I wasn't, but I was doing everything in my power at that time to get well.
Yeah.
And because it was all this empowerment, but I 100% believe that if I hadn't done that, I would not have gotten out. And it was because of the lyrics, it was because of the different chords that were being used. And I think in really, truly, it did like program for me. It got me to a space where I stopped waking up every morning having to tell myself that I was going to be okay. And I found myself being able to wake up being like, I'm okay. Not I'm going to be okay. I'm okay.
Yeah.
And then being able to get to a place where I wasn't saying I'm okay, but I'm great. We're doing great. We're awesome. And I firmly believe it was because of the music that I was listening to, probably about 60%. And then the other, like, I get another 20 to 35% was the movies that I was watching at the time. Like, I'm a big fan of art, visual arts, and all the things like media in relation to that being very healing.
Can I just ask you something really quick, Abby? So, okay, so like it's the whole idea of like words are spelling, right? Words have power, right? But then it just had me thinking, I'm like, okay, and then I don't want to get off too far off topic, but movies, Los Angeles, the energy of Los Angeles, that being a Virgo, which we talked about separately on their podcast together, that Virgos, Pisces, and Scorpios have the most intense karma, right? But I was just thinking, I was like, oh, like I almost kind of wonder, and I was getting this visual in my third eye of much like spell casting, quite literally, like places actually have that energy too, where like LA is like an energy vortex harvesting of like everyone who lives there. And there's like this whole idea, and I don't know if this is true, but I do know that there's tunnels underneath Los Angeles. Of there just being like this underground network in Los Angeles where people are like transported and stuff. And I'm just like, the rabbit hole truly never ends. But yeah, like LA being a spell almost.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah. And it's so funny that you bring that up, because have you guys, and I if you guys haven't, you should look and see like what the movies that you love, where they were like produced, or like who like produced them, because we all like think about how like LA is like the big hub or whatever, but in reality though, like you may be surprised to find that like your favorite movies were probably not produced by anybody in Hollywood, and they were probably produced in France or in Canada, or you know what I mean, or just like some indie whatever that's like an indie studio. And I found that like some of my favorite movies were done by people who are not heavily ingrained into the business, and some of the movies that I hate the most are so thoroughly entrenched into the LA super culture that I'm literally like, I feel ill, like I can't watch them. because I like you said, I feel that energy coming off of them. And so, yeah, I think that that's another reason for why certain things will, you like, quote unquote, do well. Like I like I liked to know that some of the biggest movies were basically not thought to that they were going to do well, and the people who were making them or who came up with them as like IPs basically were like, I think I'm just going to sell this to a bigger thing and like let them take the loss. Like I'll make back some money, but I'm just gonna like hand this off. Or like the ones that maybe like the people who originally held them were like, I'm gonna hold it like I'm holding like nobody's business. So I think of like Ryan Coogler with Black Panther. Like, yes, it was an LA thing, but nobody thought that a black lead cast was ever going to make $1 billion in this world when it came to a movie, much less a superhero movie, right? So there's so much like against it. But then I also think about things like K-pop Demon Hunters, for example. Like Sony made it and was like, I kind of lose faith in this. Let me sell it to Netflix, and like it blew the fuck up.
I just got put on game for that yesterday. I can't stop watching it. I was like, I didn't know anything about it until less than 24 hours ago. And I'm like,
it's so great.
I don't have kids, so maybe like I'm not like in that. And me and Abby, we don't. But I was like, my girlfriend, she has children. This is why I'm saying this. She's like, they keep me young. Like I knew that this was a thing because of that. Because I was like, girl, I don't know anything about this. But all this to say, I really feel like the story is like a battle between light and the dark. So I'm a big fan. Sorry, that was my tangent.
No, that's okay. I was gonna say for the subconscious reprogramming, I mean, you're 100% right in the sense of music. A lot of it is just spells. Like, and people are like, oh my gosh, like spellcasting. Spellcasting is literally so easy, guys. You just need a feeling and an intention, like really pair any type of words and visualization with an emotion, and you have a spell. And if you really think about the music and like the instruments and the tune of the actual song, like we think of like the ballad or like the instrumental part of it, a lot of times that alone will make you feel something. So then you pair that feeling with the words that create a visualization, or it brings up a visualization in your mind, boom, spell. Like it's so, people do it all the time. And you don't even realize it. You don't even realize it, guys. That's even like, when you think of the word spelling, spell. And like just, so it's very, to me, like it's a lot, but spells do not always mean like a bad thing. Essentially the entire fabric of our existence are different spells. Like when we set an intention for ourselves and we only want to experience like this, type of a thing. Let's say you're teaching your kids how to set intentions, whether you are Christian or not. So like if you're Christian, it will be through a prayer. When you ask God to protect you, when you ask, whatever to protect you and to watch over people, that's setting an intention, and with a feeling and a visualization of some capacity, you're essentially putting this protection spell around your kids. Now you're doing it in co-creation with whatever you believe to be like creator in a religious standpoint, but pretty much everything is just spell weaving. Even the songs that I've listened to that I'm like, the lyrics are not it. They're not high frequency. They're just not, but they're my guilty pleasure. I listened to this when I was in middle school. The likelihood of me abandoning it now is not it. Like sometimes you just want to shake your ass. I hope that's okay that I said ass. And that's okay. But one of the things as somebody who is awake, as somebody who works in this world, is like, I will look at the very fabrics of the song. So the way that I receive information is I'm a seer. So I will see the weaves of the spell in the song, and I will unweave it and I will reverse it so it doesn't take my energy, and instead it just like it gives out more energy, or like there's just like this block. So I can still enjoy the song without worrying about it fucking with me energetically. So that's my 2 cents on it, but 100%.
Yeah, I definitely think like as you elevate in vibration, like some music just doesn't hit. But like you said, it's like so nice to just like, again, have like those guilty pleasures, or listen to the songs that bring you nostalgia, like where you were at, like when you were 16 and like driving a car for the first time. So yeah, but I definitely think like I just came off a really tough year of shadow work, and I don't think I'm fully out of the woods yet, so I don't want to like say that because I'm just like, oh, you know, we're in eclipse season.
Got you
But
knocking on.
yeah, totally. I just something that really hit me was that I realized because I was just more the observer of my thoughts and really like listening to my inner higher self was that I couldn't listen to certain music like anymore. And I
Yeah.
couldn't listen to like honestly it was a lot of rap and I love rap. I love
Yeah,
rap.
I can't. I
So
really struggle with rap. That's like I actually lately I have just been on country like and that's it. Like I used to be able to listen rap was like my running playlist. I cannot do that at all. I have to listen to like very specific country albums, but like and like whatever, but I'm like that's so shocking to me because rap usually has more of a beat that hypes you up when you're
yeah.
exercising and
Mhm.
that just hasn't been it feels almost like almost like someone's scratching nails on a chalkboard. That's how it makes me feel on an energetic level when I listen to a lot of rap lately. So I get it.
Yeah, I think that's just the history of rap too, of like rap came at a time, and even hip hop in a lot of things, although hip hop has shifted a lot in the past 30 years. But rap really came from this history of like resistance, but resistance where it was like, I see what the government is doing, I see what the world is putting out, and like, fuck you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, fuck that, you know?
Yeah.
And it wasn't about anything more than, in my opinion, complaining about it. So, you know, you get these new young bloods coming up in rap being like, well, we got to honor our history. And there's really no movement to change it. So in some ways, today's rap has gotten harder, worse, or harsher, whatever we want to like say that. And it isn't about necessarily the empowerment. So I think that's where like it can have a really sick beat, right? It can be like really amazing. You can like, I love testing myself on rap. Like, can I move my mouth that fast? Can I make my mind move that fast? Like, I love that. But I also realized that I have the same problem with rap that I had with sociology in college. Don't sit here and tell me all the problems without giving me solutions.
Yeah.
And rap is all about like illuminating the problems and very little about like how to fix it. And whereas I think other forms of music, other genres of music, like pop is about making you feel good, right? Country is about reminding you of your home and your roots most of the time. Or to give credit where credit's due, helping you get over an ex.
Yeah, man,
Like,
country
you know,
love
like,
songs though, they just hit different. I have never felt more loved in my life than when a male country artist is singing about how much he loves his wife, and I'm like, it exists, it's there.
Yeah, you know, when you're thinking about like what's the solution, Abby? I was like, oh, that's such her Virgo sun speaking things out and saying things as they are. I love it. And wanting like, you know, that action oriented sixth sign of the zodiac. I love it. I'm here for it.
yeah, I mean it is one of those things where like I think about the music that I listened to, and one of my favorites to this day, like it came out a few years ago. I don't know if you guys know the artist. Their name is Aniko, and Iniko. They're amazing. And there's this song that they have called Jericho, and like if you haven't heard it, get into it. And like the second verse of that of that song is just, oh my God. But it's like I'm so connected to the unknown, like the unknown's got me. And I was like, there's a solution, people. And I was just like, I'm all about music where it's like that, where it's like there's a journey through it, right? Like maybe it does start off with like, here I was. I think about songs like this is really dating me, guys. Like City High, their one hit wonder, City High. What would you do if your son was at home lying alone on a bedroom floor because he's hungry and the only way to feed him is just sleep with a man for a little bit of money, but his daddy's gone? Like there's a whole like thing, but then at the end, like there's like the no girl, you got this. Like you got this, you're gonna make it, you know, so I feel like that's the I
So why
still
couldn't she get a
vibe with
regular
that.
job? Like, why couldn't she get a regular job? Yeah. Amen.
I vibe with that so much of like if you're going to tell me about what my problems are, like help me get to a place where I feel better, or I have some sort of solution, or I feel like I can make it. And obviously I know that's a lot to ask of a 3-minute song.
It's okay though.
But I think that's also why I tend to vibe with vinyl and old school albums, because albums used to be about the journey. You'd maybe start, like, a song in and of itself wasn't going to take you where you needed to go, but if you listen to the album from song 1 to song 7 or song 13 or whatever, you made it through the journey, and at the end you were in a better place. Now I see there being a thing about EPs, right? And you get these singles, and those are the only things that are released, and it's not about the album, it's about trying to get hit and get in. And I think that's where, going back to what you were saying about the spells, right? It's the spell, unintentionally or intentionally, is placed on, I want to get rich, and I want to get rich quick. So it's not about having a legacy of anything, right? It's about, here's this hit of adrenaline, here's this hit of dopamine, and here's this spell that will keep you coming back, or keep your energy coming back to me because you consumed it. And I think that that's a part of that, like, dark agenda that we were talking about before.
Yeah.
Do you think people are becoming more conscious to this concept of spell casting?
I think so. I even if they don't want it to be, I think they're definitely aware, because like I even know, so my dad and my one brother, super conservative, like doesn't matter. They're just super conservative. I don't know how it happened, but it did. And they're very much in the, they're so conservative that they're conspiracy theorists. And they very much are like, Beyonce, Kanye, the Kardashians are all part of the Illuminati, and like they're spreading like the devil energy kind of vibes. And but they, even though they're like, I don't believe in this, I think they do believe in it because they fear it. So for me, you can't fear something without deeply believing in it. So even if they're like, no, I don't want to talk about it, or no, like, you know, that's bad, I do think that more and more people believe in it, even if it's just through the lens of they fear it.
Yeah, I agree. Also, I kind of think they are part of the Illuminati too, but I'm not
I
that
mean,
much
yeah.
of a conspiracy.
I mean, yeah. I'm not saying that they're wrong. I'm just,
Yeah.
you know, they also like, but they'll also reject, like, do you know how long they were like, Anna, you're kind of crazy, because they call me Anna. And I'm like, am I though? Like, you believe in this. Why isn't what I do possible? Why can we only believe in the dark side of like energy and magic and all that kind of work? If there's a dark side, there's also a light side. So, but arguing with them is fruitless, because they believe what they believe, and that's all right.
Yeah.
Also, this might be a little bit of like a moving on to a different thing, but have you guys also realized, like, that if we consider, like, the government, like, not saying that the government is the dark side, but maybe I am saying that, like, the dark side is also like, well, we're gonna totally, like, say that the light doesn't exist. Have you guys ever, like, felt that, where it's like, we'll have general population being like, the Illuminati exists, like the Masons, they exist, and like this is the dark side and whatever. But then you have the government, who's supposedly the dark side, being like, light magic doesn't exist, y'all. Like that whole energy thing that y'all are doing, rubbing those crystals together, playing in the stars, not real.
Well, joke's on them, because scientific research has been being done, and there are articles that prove it. And now hospitals are training their practitioners in Reiki, which is the first step forward for a long journey of everyone starting to trust it again. So, but I mean, I think that's part of it, is like, if you teach people to fear it before they recognize how to use it, then they're not going to go down that route, and then they're more dependent on you, and you have more power over them. Like that's it. Fear mongering is 100%, and it's so ingrained in so much of what we know. Like, I remember growing up, my dad didn't let me watch Harry Potter because they were witches and wizards, and that was like a thing to fear in Christianity. And it's just like, to fear it, it doesn't mean you don't believe in it. It means you actually really believe in it, and you believe that that thing has power over you, as opposed to, oh, I can read about this thing, I can learn about it, but it doesn't mean it has power over me. So I think that's another big thing.
Yeah, I also think too, like the people, those, like those quiet moments of silence that you have to yourself that no one really talks about and you don't really like outwardly express or share with other people, where it's like you kind of wonder, like, what is the point of my existence? What is what I know to be true or not? And then you think about these things and it's just like, how can you not realize or think that there is life beyond like human beings and beyond this planet and whatnot? So I think people are more believing than maybe they give off. And this
Mhm.
isn't speaking about anyone in general, but I feel like it's easier, it's more natural, it's programmed into our society to play into the fear
Yeah.
instead of just like thinking a little bit outside the box, I guess.
Yeah. Well, most of the time, all the stories that are passed down are negative ones, like over, whatever. But I actually read a statistic the other day. I forget which research outlet, but it was saying 84% of adult Americans believe in psychic abilities, believe in like that kind of a thing. And I was like, what a very intriguing number. That's like that's really high. If you think about how many adults are in the United States, that's way more of over a majority. So like I thought that
No,
was really interesting that people believe it, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they're acting on the belief.
Mm-hmm.
well, and that's 100% because even the government believes. I mean, they've had studies utilizing psychics and highly sensitive people, light workers, energy workers, intuitives for decades. I mean, MK Ultra, all these other different things that have been declassified and put out. I mean,
Mhm.
obviously, like you said, it doesn't mean that people are like, oh yeah, this now that these things have been declassified and are out there now for you to read and hear about and learn about, doesn't mean that people are going to be like, well, we've been lied to. And all of a sudden they
That's
start,
even if they're
finding
looking for
this
it
person.
or if they know how to read it. I have a master's degree and I read some of that stuff and I'm like, I have to reread it like 5 times to get a full understanding of it. I used to talk that way. I used to talk about that with people all the time when I worked for like I did policy work when I was and I was an intern for a state senator growing up, and I was like, the way that they word policy, somebody without a college degree is not going to understand what this means, and that's like on purpose. And I felt the same way reading through some of the declassified information. It was just like it's just very up there that you really have to like focus to understand what's happening, and most people aren't going to do that if they even have if they even have the awareness to go and look in those places.
I got so irritated during COVID because people would be like, do your research. And I said, yeah, do your research and then come back and tell me what you read, because I'm going to tell you that what you read isn't actually what you understood. Like you understood none of it. So I got so irritated with people for that very reason, because they're doing it and they do it on purpose. Like I was trained in how to write those types of things. Like
Mhm.
I trained as a neuroscientist to learn to know how to write a research paper and how to write those things so that they were just understandable enough so that in my discussions when I was saying what was wrong with the experiment, this is what we should be doing to like move forward, but it was just coded enough. Like one of the things about like my life that I laugh about, and I know that I've had this conversation with Gabby a couple of different times where I'm like, I've been in the betwixt and between of life like my entire life for so many different reasons. But it only continued when I was in science, like heavily learning and being trained in science, because they were all about, they were like, yeah, this thing's bad, but we can word this so that it sounds good. And oh, here's how you phrase this thing. So that's why I tell people, like, if you've got questions about like some research article, like I see people, going and posting about research articles all the time. Oh, here's this new thing that science has like figured out. Here's this science created time
Yeah.
was a reason.
Yeah.
I was like, let me go and read that right now. When I read it, I was like, this is some bullshit. Like I wanted to put up a huge PSA. I was like, yeah, this isn't what you think it is.
Yeah.
But it's because you don't know what you just read.
Yeah.
Or you're reading an interpretation of an
Yeah.
abstract, which is literally one paragraph of an entire thing that doesn't even touch methodology, and it doesn't touch the answers, and it
Yeah.
doesn't touch the discussion. And it
Yeah.
doesn't touch about how bad the experiment actually was in terms of actually getting to the answer to the hypothesis that they posed. So that's where I'm like, I understand when people are like, well, then what do we believe? And so it goes back to what
Yeah.
Gabby said in the beginning of like discernment, people, discernment.
Well, that brings up a good question for you guys, because I know we're all science girlies. We're all highly educated. And I think that that makes, I mean, personally, I think that makes us outliers in the intuitive space in general as practitioners. Do you also see it as not just a benefit, but do you feel like you are able to be more accurate, more effective as a practitioner because of your girl in STEM background or your clinical or research background? And do you feel like you kind of tap into the things that you've learned? I mean, Abby, you're a medical intuitive, so like, yes, but like even beyond that, do you feel like you really are able to approach things from not just like an up here? Sometimes I feel like I see lots of intuitives and it's just all up here. It's not really grounded.
Abby, do you want to start?
No, actually, I want you to start, actually.
Okay. It's so interesting because one, I don't think I've ever been asked that. And that actually recently came up in my own process. So for background context, in terms of like, I guess my CV, if you will, I have a business administration. I have a master's in business administration, and I have a lot of different things under my belt. I'm like a jack of all trade, masters of none, I guess, if you will. But I'm also a certified project manager. And I recently worked for 3 years in clinical research and this isn't how I started, but this is how I, this is what we were working on, was second generation COVID vaccines. So I think that's really interesting too. And the energy of COVID and all the things without getting too much into it. And I like to say like 2025 is 2020 chapter 5. Round 5, season 5, and I'm like, okay, let's wait for 2026 because that one's really interesting. But what I've noticed is that for me in my process, it actually, with the whole scientific component, I think I tend more to actually be practical. I think being a Pisces rising with a Sag midhaven, I'm able to take this information and make it just make sense, put it into English, apply a practical approach with it. And for me, it helps me actually to ground into my lower 3. And I think for me, if anything, the whole science component and all the factors, in whichever way that looks like in the structures of my business, it just helps me to like be here and like live that human experience and that, be in that duality, which it's so funny because Abby, I'll pass it along to you after this, but you're like, I've always been in the in between. And I was like, yeah, like you're in between both dimensions and that's your gift. Like you're here, you're digesting that information and like making it make sense. But like, you're incorporating the spiritual component, which I think everything is spiritual, but I don't know if everyone sees it that way right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, 100%, like Annamarie said, I 100% feel like it's been a benefit to me throughout my movement into creating my own business and everything like that. And, like anybody who doesn't know by now, registered nurse over here, neuroscience bachelor's as well, like bachelor's in neuroscience, bachelor's in nursing, still practicing emergency room nurse, then business owner, medical intuition, pretty much like nailed what it is to do like a body scan and to like understand like what is going on and being able to see that with my lens. And I think I would have been good without my medical background, without my 20 years of medical scientific background. I would have been good and intuitively without it. But I think with it, it has allowed me to be able to take what is very necessary. Like, I know that like ultimately, I feel like where I also kind of excel at is being very good at saying like, I feel like I'm the big, I'm going to use this analogy, even though I'm not an actual man, but I'm going to use this because it will land better. I'm the big brother of my little sister, science. Like I can be mean to science. I've earned that right. Whereas like if somebody else is mean to science, I'm taking out my ears. We're going at it. Like, but I will 100% be like, these are all of the bad things about my little sister science. And this is like where little sister science needs to like get her shit together. But it's because I understand the process in which that has to exist, right? And so it has done nothing but help me be better at what I do. And understanding that version allows for me to, like Annamarie said, be able to ground it. Because too often people are like, okay, well, here's all this stuff that you're talking about the higher chakras and all of these other things. And you guys know me, I go way beyond just like the crown chakra. And I, help you anchor into it. And I help you understand that and those new technologies that come in. But I'm absolutely also the person that says, so what are you doing about your stress levels? What are you doing about your movement? What are you doing about your nutrition? Are you sleeping restful sleep? Or are you just telling me that you're sleeping 8 hours, but you still feel like trash afterwards? Let's talk about all of these grounded, real practical things that science has been studying for millennia at this point, it feels like, right? And nobody is contending that nutrition is good for you. Nobody. Nobody is saying that, getting enough sleep is bad for you. Not a single
I don't know. I've
person on the
seen some
planet.
intuitives who really there are just some intuitives that really challenge even those things. I saw somebody
What?
once, yes, I saw somebody who once who was like, if you're sleeping, like we don't actually need 8 hours of sleep. Like humans are only meant to have like 3 or 4. And like, it just went into a whole conspiracy theory. And then I saw a different one who was like, this was about food. And she just would take different vegetables and was like, this is actually going to lower your frequency. And this is going to cause you to like attract negative entities. And I was like, I refuse to believe that my potatoes are going to attract a negative entity. I will not be, I was like, in the name of like, whatever, my potatoes are fine. Like, and
Is this on, sorry, go ahead.
oh no, go ahead. Go ahead.
Was this on the Tickety Talk?
She's on TikTok and on IG. I think I usually see her IG stuff.
Okay. Yeah. There's some people out there in the space, and it's not to sound judgmental, because when you are judgmental, that's coming for your ego, but there's definitely some, information out there that really makes you question the credibility of some people.
Yes. Well, and to me, it's another form of fear mongering. To me, if as a leader in the intuitive space, I want my information to feel empowering. And if you're so much a lot of intuitives out there are so busy trying to teach people to not be human and to live a life that's outside of being human, that I'm like, you're missing the whole point, the whole plot. I get it. You want to be enlightened and all this other stuff, because that, like, the whole reason their soul chose this was to have a human experience. So empower them to navigate through these experiences, like teach them to intuitively decide on what foods to ingest into their bodies. Like, not everything is going to be great for everyone, but like, I don't like the blanket statements that happen, and like people really trying to spiritually bypass their emotions, their experiences, and how hard it can be to be human. It's across the board. It doesn't matter how intuitive you are. I know each of us can say, like, we have had seasons that have sucked, and there's no out spiritually or intuitively channeling past your own human experience. And I don't feel that there are a lot of intuitives who embrace that. Instead, they're kind of marketing and building their reputation and their whatever to make it just feeds into the, we can't trust anything and everything's wrong. And it's a very, very low frequency.
Yeah.
I'm still losing my shit over here that there are intuitives out there who are like, you don't need restful sleep, and you don't need food. I'm so sorry.
I was like, that's how people have psychosis through like intuitive work. That's how you get psychosis, guys. That's
you guys. Okay, I will amend my statement, y'all. Like, clearly there are some people out there who like don't know their shit, but I like that saddens me, y'all. Like, because at the end of the day, like you said, Annamarie, like, it's not about trying to. It is and it isn't about trying to ascend past your human. I think people don't understand that when you have ascended past being human, you no longer incarnate here. And if you ascend past being human, when you're here, your body dies, which means you go somewhere else. And I think that that's a really hard thing for a lot of people to not understand. I think a lot of people want to sit here and believe that they can stay on earth and they can stay in this body, and this body is just going to morph into this other thing. But I don't think that people fully take that all the way to its conclusion. Like, when you don't have a mass amount of people who are all like, when I say mass, I mean all but like 1 or 2 individuals around the world. Can you think about that? How awful this would be, right? You have 10 people, you and the 3 of us are part of this 10 who get ourselves to such a level of enlightenment that we are able to stay in this body, but this body crystallizes. Can you imagine? Number one, imagine what a crystallized body would look like. Pretty weird. So now we've got all of these magical powers that are now like all of our extrasensory stuff is now very grounded in like the physical. Now we can fly and we can do all these things. We can pull energy from the ground and we can transmute it in our body. And now we can actually force spirits to be real and we can force demons to be real. And everybody sees it. And all of these things, right? All of these different things are possible now because we, as 10 people, are able to do this because we have ascended to such a level of enlightenment. What do you think happens to us? Because the other 9 billion people on the planet are not this. So if we want to be able to survive, we need to have it where most of the 9 billion people on this planet, or 8 billion, whatever it is now, crystallize all at the same time so that they're all like for mutual, instead of having mutual destruction, right? So instead of like just getting rid of the people who are doing some crazy shit, now for their own benefit, they have to keep us all alive.
Yeah. Well, you know what I think is an important thing though, you know, you're talking about like enlightenment in its truest form. I have found that when most people talk about enlightenment on the internet and in general in this space, it is like this fake version of it. Like this almost as if like it gets to excuse like get a lack of accountability. Like I actually was talking to somebody the other day. It was this guy and he's been in the spiritual space before and or like has been, and he's been, you know, meditating, and he works with this like other male energy worker, and he was just like, well, I've like already enlightened, so like if somebody, like if my wife doesn't like that I don't do this, like I have to do what makes my soul, like it's a form of just bypassing, excusing lack of accountability. And a lot of people will think that that's what enlightenment is, that enlightenment is like, I don't get mad, I don't get sad, I don't feel things. That is just spiritual numbing, guys. I hate to break it to you as the therapist on the call, you're just numbing. And eventually that leads to some form of mental illness. So I don't know if you guys also see this, but I see it all the time and it enrages me. It enrages me.
Yeah.
I feel like that's only possible if your body, if the physical body changes. Like to be able to say that like you never have to experience the full spectrum of human emotion, that you can only have all of the positive, what we consider positive emotions. The only way in which a human body would be able to hold that is if that human body changes into some crystalline or light form.
Yeah. But do you guys like, I see all emotions as something that's sacred, like something that's like, I mean, they're not always fun to feel, but like, so even, you know, when we get to that point, which none of us are at this point, but like, I don't know, I'm like sad. What a beautiful thing to feel sad about something. Like what, like to feel that so deeply. And I don't know where I'm going with this, so I'll just stop it there.
Yeah, I think that emotions are definitely like the divine feminine side of things. If you're looking at like the masculine and the feminine, I would definitely say that the more maybe because you know they're in balance, they're supposed to be in balance. Sometimes they can be imbalanced depending on you know where you're at in your processing your journey. But I would definitely say that the more that you feel emotions, the maybe more you're in your feminine. And I know that for me personally, yeah, I like again coming off of this last year and again still probably in it. I'm certainly more emotional than
Yeah.
I have allowed myself to be, but I think if in this process just allowing myself and giving myself permission and the grace to feel those emotions, I've done a lot of healing in the process and it's almost become heightened because in a lot of ways I think your femininity is your intuition, not to say that the masculine isn't.
Yeah.
But I think I'm also a little bit biased too. Like I believe that God source creator, the oneness, whatever you refer to, is feminine. So yeah.
I mean, I think people are fine with considering it as long as it doesn't get too far into the extreme and particularly into the negative extreme, right? So like to take what you were saying, Annamarie, of like sadness is a beautiful thing to feel, but what happens when your sadness turns to grief, when your grief turns to rage, right? And all of a sudden your rage turns into contempt and now you're capable of doing anything, right? We think about those things of like, you know, we're fine with feeling sad when it's our puppy that dies, and we're capable of going out to the pound or to the animal shelter and we're buying a new one. But what happens when we're feeling that rage because some terrorist blew up our building, right? then, you know, is it a beautiful experience then? Nobody really wants to think about those extremes because they don't know how to handle them. But they also want to believe that they're not capable of murder. They want to believe that they're not capable of hate. They want to believe that they're not capable of these. And if they are willing to look and say, oh, I am capable of those things. I am capable of being petty. I am capable of being judgmental. I am, you know, capable of all these really quote unquote ugly emotions, right? They are only willing to be capable of them within a certain frame of context. Because if you go too extreme, all of a sudden it's like, no, that's too dark. We're not, you know, we're not about that. But once again, it's also, I see the same issue when we talk about creator. We're all about creator being about love and light, except for we forget that all colors exist in white. And white light, guys. Right? All colors exist in white light. So black exists in white light. Right? So if we're automatically going with this whole, like, you know, thing of white equals light and equals the good side and black equals the dark side, well then if we're doing that, well then God, creator, source, whatever, is equally as good as it is equally is bad. But nobody wants to talk about that. Somewhere around, energy workers like to try to push all of, when you get high enough, when you ascend, all of a sudden all of the bad goes away. And all that exists then is the good. But if that were the case, if truly, if what the Bible, right, and what Christianity wants us to believe, that God is only all that is good, then how in the fuck do we even get bad then? Right? But nobody wants to have that real truthful discussion because it's too hard. It's too hard. And also they need to, in some way, shape, or form, have themselves be separate from the creator, the source of all that is. Right? And that's where I tell people, if you really want to get into your dark shit, if you really want to go into your shadow, you need to go into your shadow and understand you've got some bad shit that's a part of you, equally as strong as all of the beauty and light that exists inside of you. It's one of the reasons why I'm not afraid of saying, yeah, I'm a judgmental petty bitch. But because I'm so easy, it's so easy for me to say that. It's so easy for me to say I'm the most generous and kind and loving human being that you will ever meet. Don't cross me, but also, like, I will help you and, you know, rip the skin off my own back to help cover you. Right? But it's because I've done that work. It's because I'm not afraid of my dark as much as I am of my light. And I think we always remember that Miriam, I think her name is Marianne Williamson, that quote of, it's not our darkness, but our light that we're most afraid of. For a lot of people, yes, that is actually the case.
Yeah.
It's more comfortable to be in the rage and the grief and the sadness, right? They understand that. They can't understand the goodness because for whatever reason, the life that they've chosen to incarnate in is more of that pain and struggle and fear.
Yeah.
So it's harder to get it. But I think now we're also seeing that there are a lot of people who have chosen to be in lives that are very luxurious and very easy in some ways, and have abundance and have wealth and have access and have power. Well, if you have all of those things and your life isn't all that challenging, then what is the thing that is going to scare you the most? Getting into the deep, dark nonsense. And Gabby, it looks like you have something to say, please.
I just was thinking about it. I'm like, usually those people that have those types of external or internal resources, if they are at that place where, like, you know, they seemingly have everything and they're existing in most of the light without really having explored or been in their own darkness, which I think is a necessary, unavoidable part of a human being, a soul in a human body. They're just bored. They're bored.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? So I'm like, yeah, I don't know.
And a lot of them go through hard shit, not the same as like other people, but like they end up being addicted to drugs and alcohol. Like you see that a lot in those in the community. There's family shit that happens, and like there's still, like, it's just different. It's just a different font. But like if they're not, something is going to challenge them to grow in some capacity. Nobody escapes life with zero challenges, zero growth. It's just not a thing.
Yes.
So
And I think that's one of those things too, of being like, just what are your opportunities for growth? Because
mhm,
the higher you go, right? And I know that Annamarie and I, we talked about this, like, when as we get into those like higher income ranges, right? Or if we've been there, like I've been there and then I've fallen out of it, right? As we get in there and we try to sustain it, the thing is it's not like our opportunities for growth go away, right? Like it's not like we stop having
honestly,
things happen to us.
it feels harder at this level. I was telling Sarah, my best friend, I was like, I feel like I almost felt a little bit less stressed or maybe like just different when I had nothing, when I was starting from the bottom and like there was nowhere else to go but up. I was already at the bottom. I was like, now I'm here and I'm like, oh my gosh, how do I sustain? Like it's scary. The same way I'm afraid of heights, like we went to Sedona for my birthday this year and we would get to a certain height level and my body would freeze up. My body was like, we can't move. We're staying here or we're going back down. And even then, I had severe panic attacks on the top of these mountains, or not even the top, midway through these mountains in front of strangers. And I thought it was a really good analogy or visualization of, I think, what it feels like when you start at rock bottom and you build something up. It is not that things are easier. Like, I mean, you learn to hold stress in a different way and you learn to navigate through it in a different way, but there's just different challenges. And then there's also the stress of like, can I continue to sustain this? Because now I'm also building this life around this income level versus when I had nothing. Like it's I never thought that I would say that because when I was at the bottom, I was like, I just need to get to where I am now. And I'm like, oh, we're just new growth spaces. And it's really interesting actually. And I don't think people talk about it enough. Everyone thinks like if you just get here, if you just make this amount, like your problems don't go away, guys. Not at all. Like they just come in different fonts.
All right, ladies. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you for coordinating this, Abby. Thank you, Annamarie. My name is Gabrielle Celeste. You can find me at Agua Astrology, aguaastrology.com. I co-host the Spiritual Sisters podcast with my family, and these two lovely ladies have been on the show. So be sure to check us out and book a reading if you feel called.
Yay. I'm Annamarie Green. You can find me on Instagram at Annamarie F. Green. I'm the intuitive therapist. And I also have a podcast called Sacred Shenanigans. It's me. Sometimes I bring guests on where we just talk about all the things that are sacred in life and divine about being human.
Wonderful. Thanks everybody for joining us for this conversation of Breath of Life Conversations, which I am now officially calling this particular thing because I feel like I may harangue these ladies to do it again. This is the Powerhouse Podcast Sisters. Because because I can. Okay, because I can. And I feel like this is just one of those one of the situations and spaces where we actually get to say what we feel what we think, and be able to push the conversation forward and make you feel something that you've maybe never felt before. So thank you so much for being here, and go and check out all of these ladies. The show notes down below will have all of their links and things. And we'll see you next time for next Breath of Life Conversations. Thanks, y'all. Bye.